The glowing pink and blue neon lights reflected on the wet street after the rain. People hurried past. The big city at night was beautiful, yet lonely at the same time. But in the chaos, there was a small girl, clutching her paint-stained backpack on her back. Almost home. Little Taidy walked along the sidewalk, her eyes surveying everything around her. Despite her exhaustion, she gritted her teeth and kept going, knowing her grandmother was waiting for her in the small rented room on the top floor of that faded building. An old, cracked concrete staircase, a rusty iron door. But inside the small room, a warm-toned lamp and the aroma of Grandma's simple meals wafted out. "You're back, my little rascal." "Yes, Grandma. I had an idea today. It would be nice if I had superpowers." "Your kind heart is already wonderful enough." Even though she was tired from school, seeing Grandma's smile made Taidy feel at peace. She hoped that if she had superpowers, she would use them to make Grandma's life less tiring. This little thought sparked in the clear eyes of the 8-year-old girl. That night, in a narrow alleyway between tall buildings, illuminated only partially by the backlighting, a long, distorted shadow formed on the wall. The wind rustled scraps of paper in circles. The dark shadow moved as if alive. She heard a voice, a whisper. "If you want it, I can give it to you." "Who is there?" The voice, "Just come closer and we can talk more." A whisper, both sweet and strangely shrill, emerged from the darkness, sending shivers down Taidy's spine. She stood still, frozen, curiosity and fear battling within her. Unbeknownst to her, the voice came from what the townspeople called the vicious shadows, spirits that bargained for a price that seemed cheap, but was actually the most expensive in the world. The next day, the city was still bustling in front of the school. The sound of the subway train rumbled from below. A small girl crouched beside a metal pipe covering a drainage channel. Several coins had rolled down until they were no longer visible. "No, Grandma's food money. What am I going to do?" Taidy accidentally tore her grandmother's cloth bag, scattering the coins. Some of them fell into the subway drain. She knew they were crucial for the week's food. This small mistake weighed heavily on the 8-year-old's heart, almost bringing her to tears. A cool breeze rustled the leaves, creating swirling circles. The sounds of the city gradually faded, as if a switch had been flipped. And in the shadows beside the wall, a strange figure began to move, like octopus ink in water. The voice she had heard the night before returned, this time closer, clearer, and stranger than ever. It spoke as if it knew exactly what kind of trick to use to make the girl hesitate. Fear and hope mixed, making her heart tremble. A whisper. "Do you want the money back? I can help." "No, I'm scared." The voice. "Just in exchange for a little kindness. It won't hurt." The same number of coins slowly appeared on the ground, as if they had floated down from thin air. The light reflected off the gray cement courtyard, while a hazy shadow against the wall seemed to be smiling broadly, its face devoid of shape. "Well, if it's just a little kindness, maybe." The voice. "Very good. Good girl. Look, yours is back." "Wow, it really is." The girl didn't understand how valuable her kindness was, so she willingly traded it without thinking. When she saw the coins return, she was so happy that she forgot to consider the consequences. However, the dark shadow smiled even wider than her, for this was the first step in forging the most expensive contract of her life. In the small rented room,
A soft golden light streamed through the old window. Taidy was helping her grandmother make the bed, but her face was slightly downcast, as if she were losing something in her heart. "You look tired, Taidy. Is something wrong, dear?" "I don't know, Grandma. I just feel strange when I do good deeds, like something is missing." Even though she did good things as usual, she felt like the warmth in her heart was slowly fading, as if a piece of her was falling off every time she did something good. Her smile began to fade for no reason. On the playground after school, the children ran around happily, while Taidy held a new toy in her hand, something she had always wanted. A cool breeze blew, and a faint shadow seemed to float behind her. "Friend, wow, that toy is so cool! Where did you buy it?" It just appeared out of nowhere." Whispering, "See, I can give you anything you want." Expensive toys she had never owned before suddenly appeared in her hands, making every desire seem so easy that she had become accustomed to it. But each time she received them, she felt increasingly empty, as if her heart was being taken away piece by piece. On her way home in the evening, the orange-pink light of the sunset reflected on the walls of the tall buildings. Unusually long shadows stretched beside her, as if creeping closer to the girl. Taidy, thinking to herself, "Just a little bit of warmth in my heart is gone. It's probably all right." A whisper, "That's right. Don't worry too much. Use what you've received, and let me take care of the rest." Even though her heart was weakening, Taidy chose not to see it. She thought that a small loss of feelings in exchange for what she had gained would be all right. However, the dark shadow silently following her began to grow larger, as if waiting for the opportune moment to take something even more important. In the small rented room in the evening, a faint orange light streamed in from the window. Taidy sat on the bed, hugging her knees. Her shadow stretched unnaturally long on the wall. The once bright smile was gone. "Grandma, Taidy dear, is something wrong? Why aren't you talking to me much?" "I'm a little tired, Grandma." "You're not the same anymore, my child." The once bright laughter had turned into silence. Taidy began to withdraw, not answering her grandmother's questions, and no longer interested in her friends. Every time she did something good, she felt like something was being pulled away, until she no longer wanted to do good. Rain poured down in the night. The street reflected streaks of neon lights. In the dark room, Taidy sat by the window, raindrops clinging to the surface. A blurry, human-like figure slowly appeared behind her. Shadow's voice. "You're getting used to the trade, aren't you?" "Taidy, what else do you want?" "Simple. Want more of what you desire?" The voice from the shadow grew clearer than ever, as if it were growing stronger from what Taidy had sacrificed. She felt suffocated, as if being drawn into an uncontrollable world, but she didn't know how to escape. On the small bedside table were medicine and a towel. Grandma was coughing heavily, hunched over, while Taidy stood watching with a worried expression. A dark shadow loomed behind her, seemingly waiting for an answer. "Can you help Grandma get better?" "Yes. Just sacrifice a little more kindness." "Okay, then." "Very good, little one." Her love for her grandmother made her decide without hesitation once again. Although deep down she felt a chill run down her spine, she chose to make the sacrifice for her grandmother's recovery, unaware that every time she sacrificed kindness, she was losing more, until she had almost nothing left for herself.
The schoolyard in the morning was filled with children strolling and chatting merrily. Mina, a girl with a black ponytail, offered a small chocolate bar to Taidy, who stood motionless, seemingly unaware of the kind gesture. "Mina, I want you to eat it with me." "No need." "Huh? But Taidy unintentionally pushed Mina's hand away gently. Mina offered the chocolate with good intentions, but Taidy felt indifferent, as if her heart had hardened. She hadn't meant to push her new friend away, but her positive feelings towards people were slowly fading, drained away, leaving her feeling like she wasn't herself anymore. The teacher's lounge was warm with orange light. The homeroom teacher sat calmly opposite Taidy. Behind her were bookshelves and a brightly colored bulletin board, but the atmosphere around the girl seemed quiet and heavy. "Taidy, you haven't been smiling much lately. Is something wrong?"
Nothing. I'm worried about you. You seem like a child who's sinking deeper and deeper. The teacher saw the changes in Taidy more and more clearly each day. The missing smile, the empty eyes, and the rejection of her friends made the teacher know that something was wrong. But Taidy didn't know how to explain it, because even she didn't understand the emptiness in her own heart. On her way home in the evening, the sky began to change to a purplish-pink hue. Taidy's dark shadow was unusually long and seemed to move on its own. A cold voice whispered in her ear, "Don't pay attention to them. Everything in this world is a trade-off. You get, I get." If everything in this world is a trade-off, then why did Grandma give me everything without ever asking for anything in return? The shadow's voice, "Little one, don't think too much." The shadow's words no longer made sense to her, because if everything in the world truly required a trade-off, Grandma wouldn't have been like that. Grandma gave her everything wholeheartedly, never asking for anything in return. This small question was like a glimmer of light beginning to penetrate the darkness in Taidy's heart, becoming the first hope after a long absence. In her dream, the world was soft and bright like a cloud. 6-year-old Taidy stood beside her grandmother in the small garden behind their apartment. Her grandmother divided a candy, giving half to Taidy and the other half to her little neighbor. Grandma said, "Taidy, kindness is like a candle flame. The more you share, the more it grows." Taidy, in the dream, "Really, Grandma?" "Yes, dear. The light in our hearts always grows when we give to others." In that dream, the world was so warm that her heart softened again. Forgotten memories resurfaced, and the good feelings she once had hadn't completely disappeared. They were merely hidden behind the darkness created by the shadows. The dream shattered into a gloomy sky. A tall, dark shadow stood above Taidy's head in the dream. It was long and distorted, like a living black mist. "Shadow, your kindness is gone, little one. You've traded it all away." "No." "Next, there will be a greater price to pay. I want your love." "All your love?" "Yes, both for Grandma and for everyone." The shadow spoke in an icy voice. It wanted not just her kindness anymore, but the deepest part of her heart, the love that made her truly her. That was far more dangerous than anything else. Taidy felt as if a cold, dark hand was squeezing her heart. The dream world spun faster. She collapsed to the ground, warm tears streaming down her cheeks. The first tears in weeks. A tiny light surrounded the teardrop, as if it possessed some untouchable power. "Taidy, don't take it away. Please?" Shadow, stunned. Tears? They're mine. I didn't exchange them with anyone. Tears. Aren't they easily bought and sold? The tears made the shadow recoil slightly, as if it couldn't touch something still remaining within her. That something was the heart of a young girl that hadn't yet died, a love that hadn't been bought, hadn't been exchanged, and couldn't be easily taken away. A glimmer of hope began to beat again, and it was the beginning of the battle within her.
The street was silent in the misty evening. A long line of streetlights illuminated the area, some flickering faintly. A dark figure appeared at the end of the sidewalk. Taidy stood with her fists clenched, taking a deep breath. "I'm not trading anymore. I'll get my good back." The figure. "Ha ha ha. No one can get back what they've sold, you foolish child." The figure's reply echoed, shaking the ground. But this time, Taidy didn't back down like before. She knew now that everything she had traded was out of fear, not necessity, and this new understanding gave her heart weight again. Taidy took a step closer to the shadow. The streetlights behind her instantly switched on, as if acknowledging the girl's courage. The shadow recoiled slowly, as if burned by the light. "I gave away kindness, so I can create it again." "Nonsense. Kindness has a price. It has to be bought. It doesn't happen on its own." The truth is, kindness never disappeared. It was merely obscured by the fear and the exchange that the shadow imposed on her. The light from a restored heart, small but truly enough to make the shadow retreat, was not due to supernatural power, but to the self-belief of a child.
The streetlights streamed in with a whoosh sound from each one. The shadow twitched, its form thinning like smoke dispersed by a strong wind, its face contorted with anger and terror simultaneously. "Foolish humans, don't you know that giving without expecting anything in return destroys my power the most? Taidy, then I will give my smile, my kindness, and my love without exchanging anything for you." "Arg!" The roar faded away. The shadow vanished into the unbearable light, for that light wasn't from the streetlights, but from Taidy's heart, which chose to give instead of exchange for the first time in months. She wasn't taking back kindness. She was rebuilding it with her own hands.
A new morning in the big city. Soft sunlight reflected off the windows of the tall buildings. Taidy carried bags of groceries, walking hand in hand with her grandmother. The atmosphere was warm, yet simple. The streets were full of people smiling at each other slowly. "Grandma, help me carry these things, dear." "Of course, Grandma." A small, sincere smile. Taidy may not be fully back to her former self, but she is starting anew, with small steps. Steps taken from her own heart, not because there's a reward waiting, but because it makes her feel warm, like the morning sun. At school, Taidy picked up a piece of paper from the floor and offered it to her friend with a smile. Mina looked at her happily. The friends around her began to see the beautiful little change in the girl again. "Taidy, you're smiling again today." "Well, it feels good." "That's great. It's so comforting to be around you." Every time she gives, whether it's a smile or a small act of kindness, her heart warms up little by little, like a candle being relit. That small light gradually combines to become a warmth that she thought had disappeared. One night in their small rented room, Grandma and Taidy sat side by side. A single candle cast a soft glow on the table, its shadows cast peacefully on the wall, no longer the dark, frightening shadows they once harbored. "Grandma,
Taidy, my dear, kindness isn't something you exchange for something else. The more you give, the more you receive. Taidy, I know, Grandma. If you exchange sin for merit, you'll always lose. Yes, because kindness is the light we give to each other. And it's not a currency, but a guiding light for the heart. Grandma's teaching clarified everything. Kindness isn't something to be exchanged, not something to be hoarded, but something that grows within us the more we give it. The shadows never return, because there's no room left in a heart filled with light. Ultimately, Taidy learned in her heart that giving with a pure heart is the true profit of life.